everybody. Welcome back. It's season 2, episode number 5 of the Fantasy Cast. Ty's holding up 10s, but it's really episode 5. It's all good. We're almost there.
Yeah.
What a week in the NFL last week. Tons of drama, tons of weird performances in general. We're going to dive into all that in a second with a few different segments coming up. But first of all, it's Ty White, joined alongside me, Lachlan McTagg, once again for you guys. Ty, it's been a busy week. How you been faring, man?
Very busy in terms of school and stuff like that. I pulled a couple all-nighters and stuff, so it's crunch time. But what's even more depressing, Lachlan, is I'm working on Sunday. I bust my behind home, driving home to catch the end of the Chargers game, maybe treat it to a lovely score, a couple touchdowns. It's 30-10, and the game was well over. Disgusting. Bosa went down. Rashawn Slater's out for the year. My gosh. Can't get much worse for us. We're 1-2. But other than that, I'm doing lovely. How are you, Loch?
Yeah, I'm in a similar spot with you. We're about a week away from midterms here. Which is nuts, by the way, nuts. To be in October for midterms, it's crazy. But time's been flying. Saturday we got destroyed by Utah.
Oh, the Utes.
30. I think it was 36-13.
But I was the blackout though.
It was great. The student section was rocking. We were all dressed in black. The student section was rocking for about like a quarter. And then the Utes just started really taking it to us, and it was not good. But they gave out these yellow pom-poms, or these gold pom-poms, excuse me. So we were all in black, and we were like waving like the pom-poms around. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So the craziest part though, dude, was their first 2 touchdowns were both Philly specials.
Oh no way! I didn't even know that. Are you serious?
So their first drive down the field, we stopped them, and then which we were all like going crazy about because whatever. And then we go 3 and out in like probably 2 minutes of like real time, like just not an ideal possession.
Yeah. After
your defense makes a huge 3rd down stop.
Yeah.
Just so far from ideal.
Yeah.
And then we punt. Utah marches it back down the field, and they pull a Philly special from like the 8-yard line on us. And okay, I was like, all right, wow, you know what a play call.
It's demoralizing though.
We go 3 and out again in probably like 3 minutes this time.
Yeah.
Not a great possession once again. They march back down the field. They're at like the 12, and they do it again to the same guy.
Oh my God. So this guy was having a field day then.
Yeah, so they on back-to-back drives, they Philly specialed us, and the place was silent. And if none of you guys know, like Utah fans, I mean, you guys have probably seen the headline. Like you probably saw the headline about like the girl at Utah, the whole like nuclear reactor thing if they lost to San Diego State. By the way, San Diego State's like worse than us. So there's absolutely no shot they were losing to San Diego State, but their fans are intense. Yeah. There was a big traveling contingency of Utes fans. I would say like a good half the stadium was like red, which was scary.
That is kind of scary. That's intimidating.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Those fans are intense. They go pretty hard. So when the student section was filing out and stuff, like the Utah fans, like we stayed for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Before it got like just really depressing, and we just had to head back to Phoenix.
Yeah.
But the Utah fans were just like giving it to us the whole game, and it was just so bad.
It was getting to the 40 bomb range, eh?
Yeah. They finally scored a touchdown, and everyone's like, oh, yay. So yeah, we're 1-3 now, which is not ideal whatsoever. Yeah. And our next 2 games too. Get a load of this: at USC, ranked.
Oh my goodness.
And then we're coming back at home to face who? A ranked UW team. Oh God.
Oh my God. So couple L's in store, probably.
I mean, cross your fingers. You never know what could happen, but it's not looking too good. And then Sunday, I mean, that Bills game. Oh my God.
Wow, crazy.
That Bills game took a few minutes off my life. First of all, that butt punt,
which actually
What?
worked in their favor too.
that somehow won them the game.
Yeah, because
Like, I don't know a scenario where something like that could go that wrong that fast and you still walk out winning the game. Now, in fairness, I mean, if Josh Allen hits who was it, Gabe Davis in the end zone there on like the half check down throw at the goal line, like they win the game. But you know what? It is what it is.
and like he was short to Isaiah McKenzie. Not to mention at the end of the game, he could have got out of bounds. He decided to stay in bounds to at least kind of last play of some kind. But that was a crazy one.
Yeah, but then the Falcons pulled a surprise W out in Seattle, which was cool. That was an interesting game. Hawks can't swim still.
No, they can't.
Honestly, I don't know if Falcons can swim either, but they got the win in Seattle.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, other than the 5 minutes I just spent breaking down the events that have transpired since we've last talked not a whole lot else has happened.
It was a great recap though. You covered tons of that. You might as well end the episode. I mean, that was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, that's no need to talk fantasy football today when we've talked about literally everything else. Anyway, we're gonna get into a couple big performances because there's I'll just go through these quickly because
let's hear it.
There's a couple of weird ones on here. I mean, quarterbacks, like Lamar had another week.
Yeah.
Wow, what a week for Lamar Jackson. He just looks so dialed in right now.
Yeah. A lot of people saying that this is like 2019. It's a potential MVP campaign from Lamar.
And again, who's he facing this week? Oh, your Buffalo Bills.
Yeah. That should be a good one.
Running into two hot quarterbacks in back-to-back weeks, that's tough early season, but you know what? Well, you get through it. Our top running back performer, though, wasn't your usual suspect by any means. Khalil Herbert.
Wow.
Put up a nice 30.9 points.
Yeah.
Most in part because of David Montgomery's injury.
No,
I remember I was watching. I was
the game. I mean.
Yeah. I hope everything's okay for Montgomery. It's not looking too good if you're a fantasy owner for him right now. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. But yeah, I was surprised because I actually have Khalil Herbert on my bench because I drafted him.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone started him. No.
So I think everyone was surprised that you look at your bench, you see Khalil Herbert put up a nice 30 points. You're like, oh, nice. That's cool.
That could have won.
The wide receivers. Finally, we're mentioning this guy's name, Devonta Smith.
Where's he been?
Yes, he finally emerged, and you love to see that. Another guy on this list, Mac Hollins.
Who?
Exactly.
Nobody.
Mac Hollins. I guess he was a fill-in guy because Renfro was out with a concussion last week.
Yep. And
he was just getting the ball everywhere.
More so than guys like Waller, which is pretty.
Oh my, yeah. Waller had a tough week. And then a guy like Zay Jones. Haven't heard that name in a while.
And who did he put it up against? The Chargers.
Yeah, he did. Big
balls, man. That's all I gotta say.
Big day for the Jags. And then tight ends. No surprise here. Our top performer in the tight end category is none other than Mark Andrews.
Yeah, I think
he just continues to be reliable for Lamar. Top defense, the Broncos.
Oh,
in one of the most boring primetime games. Actually, in fairness, they were actually tied for first with the Eagles.
Yeah.
The Eagles defense had a day. But the Broncos, oh my God, that was one of the worst games of football I think I've watched in prime time since the Pats-Rams Super Bowl.
That was 12-3 I think the final was.
13-3 I think. 13-3. Yeah, the final of that Super Bowl was. My goodness.
I don't know what it is with the Broncos. They were so hyped up. They were actually, people were considering them to be like a team that can win the AFC West. I think,
which is not ridiculous in the sense because they have the pieces, but they just
total
you
underperformers.
You
What
can't
are they
go.
doing?
You can't go. What is it? 2 for 30 on offensive possessions. You just can't. That just can't happen with this group. Like
They just seem
in
to
that
be
division too.
No, absolutely. And they seem to be getting more boring every week, believe it or not. Like they find
Yeah.
something new to mess up. And Russell Wilson is not the Russell Wilson from 2015, 14.
Yeah. Hate to break it to you guys. Yeah. Top kicker, just going on quick. Greg Zuerlein. Nothing new. Guy makes kicks. 18. So if you had him,
pretty good week.
Very solid week. That wraps up just a quick little highlight from big weeks there. Ty, starts and sits time. Time to revisit.
Oh my good Lord.
It's
this
not,
one's
it's,
gonna be
yeah.
tough.
This one's going to be, we were very mediocre last week. Very mediocre.
We were so mid. We were 5 for 5 in our standard picks. 0 for 1 on the defensive side. And you'll find out why in a second, in case you didn't already know. But we'll start off what we got right on offense. We got Breece Hall and Damian Harris correct. Breece Hall at 15. Nice game from him. Damian Harris at 12. But we did get 3 wrong. Treylon Burks, Tony Pollard, and Joe Flacco. God, Joe Flacco. How? Dude, we hyped him up so much and because he had a great week. And, oh, boy, did he let us down. Didn't even throw a touchdown. Disgusting week for the – we're not calling him Shiesty anymore. That's embarrassing.
No, yeah, because if you guys recall, it was also the clip was also on our Instagram. So if you want to go revisit that and say that the real Joe Shiesty is going to show this week, and the real Joe Shiesty still is Joe Burrow because he finished 5th among QBs in points this week. So he definitely showed us up. Joe Flacco, tough.
Yeah, the one we were closest to out of those was Tony Pollard, who I honestly thought watching that Dallas game that he was going to hit it. He got 10.5. By no means a bad start, but does not meet our credentials for a victory in the start. So we went 2 for 5 there. Wow.
Yeah, I'll say 2 for 5 in starts. I'll take the ones we got wrong here in sits, and you can carry us home with the positives because we need some.
Yeah, we do.
I was so convinced on this sit last week. Oh man, I said sit Hollywood Brown, and this guy went off for 28 friggin' points this week or last week. Oh, I was so mad because I was so convinced that Hollywood Brown would be a surefire sit against the Rams.
Like there are times that we lose, but we rarely get shown up that badly. Like
that was bad.
Yeah.
That was bad. He more than doubled his not only like projected outcome, but I guess his start or sit outcome as well too. So he really just said nah. And then the next guy we got wrong, which I mean fair enough, is Cortland Sutton. Of the throws that Russell Wilson did make downfield, Cortland Sutton got quite a few of them.
Yeah.
He racked up a nice day. He had 17.7. So you know what? Is what it is. We also had another hot take on that list, which I'll explain later. But those are the 2 ones we got wrong on the sits category.
Yeah, we did get 3 right, so the majority right here. First was Travis Etienne. Against the Chargers, he only had 10.5. A.J. Dillon had 5.8. We got that one fairly correct. And very happy about this one. I knew this one would hit. Out of all of them, Russell Wilson. Poor not so dangerous, as we love to say on the program, Lachlan. He had less than 10 points, 9.06. And, we got it right. Broncos country, left wide. We got that one right, 3 for 5 on our sits.
Yeah, and then the defense we picked last week, Ty, I'm sorry. We picked the Chargers defense. And I drafted the Chargers defense. I think I've said this before. And I started them. And so this past week, I took my first loss in fantasy in our league. And I lost by 4. So the Chargers like single-handedly lost me that matchup, which was tough. You know, like that's a bad feeling when your defense not only loses you points, but loses you so many points that you actually lose your matchup. That was a tough pill to swallow. So overall, 5 for 11. Oh,
It's pathetic.
5 for 10 players and then 0 for 1, obviously, in our defensive category. But defense, you're either going to hit or miss. So,
Loch, this is a fantasy cash
yeah.
guarantee. We're gonna come back stronger, and we got some good picks this week. I don't know what happened.
we do.
We dropped the ball. However, when you look at our overall column, which will be on our Instagram and our weekly starts and sits posts, you'll see that we are well over the positive side for both our starts and sits. But we're getting better. We're trying to work towards getting better. But like we said, it's hard to top last week. Last week's was 8 for 11. Very impressive.
Yeah. Ty, we got three buds with duds.
Oh my goodness. And lots.
So,
these are big names.
These are some big names. So Ty, how about you roll us right into buds with duds?
I love it because this is our second installment of our fairly new segment to the show. We'll start off first one. Boom. Tyreek Hill. Whoa.
That's a big name.
That's a huge name. And you would not think after a 40-point performance that he would come into a game against the Bills where his team actually won and he put up just over 4 points, I think it was.
It was so strange because Tyreek Hill, like, I don't know if it's just Tyreek in the playoffs, but like Tyreek against the Bills, like he just shreds the Bills.
Yes.
Historically, he has shredded the Bills.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, for whatever reason, he just wasn't getting the ball too much, which I mean, credit to the Bills defense, but
yeah.
I mean, the Miami did not have the ball even close to the amount of time that Buffalo did, but you know what? No. Still a bud with a dud last week. He'll come back strong though.
I hope so. All right, who's our next one?
Next guy, we're going with Justin Jefferson. Another big name out there.
The biggest name at the wide receiver position.
Yeah.
A lot would argue.
Just not a great week.
No.
Off the top of my head, I forget how many points he had last week. I think it was like 4.4 and change or something.
Yeah.
Just not characteristic, or so uncharacteristic like in every regard. And again, this is another guy who like I would not be worried whatsoever. Yeah. If you're a fantasy owner of Justin Jefferson. Like
Jefferson, man.
This guy's due for at least one more 40 bomb this season, at least.
Minimum.
So yeah, don't be worried. This should be a one-time thing.
Yeah. And our last one is Aaron Jones. Wow. 3 huge names, Lachlan, on the duds, on the buds with duds list. Aaron Jones played Tampa Bay. And I mean, he had 12 rushing attempts, which is not that great, only 36 yards. He had 3 receptions and a fumble lost for grand total of 5 points. Did absolutely nothing. That one was a boring game. If anyone tuned into that one, very boring, low scoring, and no rhyme intended there, by the way. But I saw this fantastic meme of Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, loser has to call their family. I thought that was phenomenal.
I did see that one. Oh man.
So that really had me laughing. But
it's funny because Tom's probably gonna get a divorce soon.
It's all these F them kids memes that are popping up recently. But those are buds with duds: Jefferson, Hill, and Aaron Jones.
Alrighty. I think we should go waiver wire next.
We can definitely do the waiver wire. Let's hit it.
All right, we're gonna mention this guy as well. This is this first guy here. He's gonna be a little bit of a double feature, but waiver wire #1 target has to be Khalil Herbert. Has to be. With Montgomery out, Khalil Herbert is all of a sudden lifted into a #1 running back role. And again, we've mentioned this so many times. The running back is the most scarce position in fantasy football. If you have 1 or 2 good running backs, you are so lucky and so set up like incredibly well on your roster. So if you can get Khalil Herbert, if you're waiver wire order, if you're top of the list for waiver wire, go get this guy because he'll bring you value for a couple weeks as long as Montgomery's injury is as severe as they're predicting. Which obviously, you hate that for Montgomery.
You just said that. If it's as for severe as everyone's hoping, then clearly.
No, as
I know
everyone's
you didn't say
like
hoping.
saying. No.
Hoping, but
no, I would never. Okay, I would never wish injury upon any player at any point in time.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is it's next man up in Chicago, and the next man up for the foreseeable future is Khalil Herbert.
Absolutely.
So it's a great time to pick him up right
First time he had a better week than Justin Herbert, I think, in the history of them playing at the same time in the NFL. Next one, we got a Bill. Isaiah McKenzie had a fantastic week against the Dolphins. This guy is still fairly unrostered in the majority of fantasy football leagues, less than 50% in a lot of leagues. And he had a great week, over 20 points for him. Of course, he got a touchdown in the game, and he was a big player. Sometimes the Bills, he's more of a sporadic start. Sometimes the Bills use him a lot, and sometimes they don't use him too much. So he can range. He can get 5 points a game. Sometimes he'll put up the odd 9. And if he has a really, really good week and they use him a lot, he can get 20. So sometimes if you need that in fantasy football, the occasional lucky strike with a player. And depending on the team they're facing, Isaiah McKenzie, someone who kind of flew under the radar, at least for the Dolphins. So if the Bills got a big game like they do against Baltimore, he could be a good start. And someone you could look for to get over 12 points.
Well, because I mean, Stephon Diggs is going to get the attention of any number one corner on any team, obviously.
Of course.
Because I mean, and the funny thing is, Josh Allen's still going to find a way to target him like 12 times.
Yeah.
But then you got Gabe Davis, who obviously proved himself in the latter portion of last season of the playoffs. And McKenzie's still a great wide receiver. Like even in the latter portion of last year, before Gabe Davis really started to pop off for the Bills, there was a bit of competition for that second, third spot between the two. So it like if Gabe Davis didn't necessarily put up the type of numbers he was putting up down the stretch last season, the second spot could have gone to McKenzie theoretically on the depth chart. But you know, whatever it is, again, like you said, McKenzie's good for points here and there. And I think against Baltimore's got a good defense. And I think McKenzie's going to be a very, very key part in this Buffalo Bills wide receiver core if they're going to get a win, which I think they are.
That's a great point. Who's our third guy?
Last guy, someone we haven't mentioned at all, but had a great week last week and was very instrumental in that win. It's Romeo Dupes on the Packers.
Who is that guy?
Yeah, seriously, Romeo Dupes. He runs some great routes over the middle that Aaron Rodgers has just been able to find him this season. And he's run specific routes this year that have gone under the radar for sure because he haven't really amounted to much points wise. But then you add a touchdown last week for Dubes, and I think this guy's going to really start to get it rolling, especially with the lack of wide receivers that are healthy in Green Bay right now.
Yeah.
Which is a really big issue for them. I think Dubes can easily make his way up the depth chart and force his way into getting more targets from Aaron Rodgers. And I think he proved that last week. So I think he's another guy that should be high on your waiver wire acquisition list.
That's a great point. So in recap, Herbert, McKenzie, and Dubes. We're going to go to our favorite part of each episode. The favorite part is the recap of the starts and sits if we did well, and that's a fat asterisk beside the if. Most of the part we kind of do, but this week wasn't that fun recapping this. We're going to starts and sits. Let's go. Let's Loch, hit us with our first start because we're trying to bounce back, people.
Yeah, first start, we are going with Jamal Williams.
Love this one.
And the Lions. Who are the Lions playing this week?
They're playing Seattle.
They are playing Seattle. That's going to be an interesting matchup just because Seattle's defense really struggled last week against the Falcons. They couldn't quite get stops. And again, with Swift's health and concern, Coach Dan Campbell said today after Swift was limited, very, very limited practice today. Today being Wednesday, obviously, when we record, head coach Campbell said that he isn't very optimistic about Swift playing this week. Yeah. So I think they rest him this week, especially with how well Jamal Williams can just come in and be a number one back. I think this guy's a surefire start this week. And again, I think his adjustment period is next to nothing. And he's proven himself to be an effective roster spot on your fantasy team, even when he's a number two. So if he's a number one, I think he's even that more effective. And I think he's even that much more worth putting him in your lineup this week.
No, that's a fantastic point. I mean, this guy's had in 3 weeks, he's had 16, 7, and 24. 2 of those weeks are starts and pretty significant starts by our radar. And, you know, like you said, Swift's going to be out potentially for 2 whole games. So Jamal Williams should be getting lots of touches. He loves those goal line touches too. They love giving him those regardless. Our next one, pains me to say it because he just spanked the Chargers. Zay Jones, the Jacksonville receiver. He's at Philadelphia this week. Philadelphia, although they have a fantastic defense, Zay Jones is on a little bit of a streak. He's had 15, not including the 5.1, but 24. I should say 12. So 12 and 24 in 3 weeks being the highlights. On a good game, he gets about 10 targets. Where he's targeted a lot against Philly. It's a good team. They're going to need to target their top people. We like Zay Jones against Philly.
Yeah. Next one, we said this guy would be a double feature. Here he is again, Khalil Herbert. Not only are you picking him up, but you are putting him in your lineup this week against the Giants because, again, he's going to fill that number 1 running back role. And that is so key in fantasy football is touches, and the touches are for sure going to come his way. And he proved that last week after Montgomery had to come out of the game in the first quarter. Khalil Herbert then went off for a 30 bomb. So maybe not a 30 bomb this week, but I think he's going to put in a few solid performances depending on how long David Montgomery is out for.
And most likely a touchdown as well, probably adding that to the tally. Our next one is Noah Brown, wide receiver for Dallas versus Washington. Brown has been one of the most consistently impressive people who float under people's radars. I doubt that he got drafted in a majority of leagues. So he's a waiver wire guy. He was, not to mention, we put him on our waiver wire and we mentioned that you should pick him up a couple of weeks ago. So we're proud of this decision because he's had 11, 20, and 10 in his last 3. By no means bad numbers, all pretty good numbers. And Cooper Rush seems to love this guy. I mean, they were both on the practice squad together at Dallas and made their way up the draft chart or the hierarchy and for the team. And honestly, they're playing very well together. Rush likes looking this guy's way. He can get the odd touchdown in there. And we like him against Washington this week, who, if you haven't noticed, are the best team in the NFL.
We did like Washington for the first couple weeks, and then I think they're coming back down to earth a little bit now, unfortunately. But another point to add on top of the points you made, Ty, is Noah Brown is now 12.6% rostered in leagues. That's up 11.7% from just a week ago. So again, this guy's stock is on the rise. So if he's still out there, he still might be pretty low on lists as well. Yeah. But for a guy who could be on your waiver wire, who hasn't scored below the double-digit mark yet this season, even under a backup quarterback in a system, I think is a very good sign for you to go out and pick him up.
Absolutely.
And obviously, we told you to pick him up last week, but put him in your lineup.
That's fantastic. Who's our last one?
Last one. We're going a bit of a theme here today. It's almost like we're going to mention it later too as well. It's Alexander Mattison.
Yeah.
And we're going to tell you to start Alexander Mattison this week simply because Dalvin Cook could miss this week's game against the Saints. He has been limited in practice all week. And there's a bit of concern that he could miss this game, meaning Madison would then move into that number 1 running back role. And we've seen him there before, and he's very comfortable in that position. It's not like it's anything new for him. And he's good at filling in for Dalvin Cook as well.
Yes.
That's the key part. So if you have Madison, surefire start this week.
Yeah, he knows his role. He knows when to step up. But Lachlan, the thing that just blows me away, where is this game being played? They're going to England.
Yeah, they are.
Viking Saints in London. We love our London games. We talked about last year, if you recall, how to prepare for your NFL Sunday in terms of wings. And we talked a lot about the beverage of choice, which is implied to mean alcoholic.
We're 19. I can't really talk about it as much because it's 21 here, but you can absolutely talk about it.
No, 100%. It's totally legal here. You gotta go brewskis, crack them up with your father on the weekend morning. If you remember last year, you're going to B-dubs at maybe 7, 8 night before. Pop that in the fridge early morning, 400 in the oven. You're laughing by kickoff.
Yeah, see, it's a little different here because that kickoff's at 6:30 in the morning.
Yeah. So you want to get those wings started at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, yes. So for me, I might have to order those wings like just before close on Friday night at like 1:30 in the morning or whenever the wing place is closed.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
You just go to all
might have to order them and then put them in the fridge and then maybe just heat them up in like our communal kitchen here. And at
I
like
know
5.
and someone's gonna be complaining because the microwave or whatever you're heating them up in the oven's gonna be beeping the crap out of itself, especially if you
Yeah.
cause some sort of fire damage. The building's not gonna be pleased that they find when they find you in your pajamas heating up wings, getting ready for the London games. But
Oh God.
we're happy that those are back. And Alexander.
Anyway, we went a little bit off the rails there.
Oh, that brought back memories though.
Yeah.
Those are some of our original Instagram reels. We're throwing it back.
Oh God, yeah. Oh, jeez. Where were we going again? All right.
I
think we're going on to sits here. So again, Alexander Madison. Start that guy this week.
Put him in. Okay, we're going.
Please save us from ourselves and go to the sits category.
All right, let's start off with our first one. Maybe a bit of controversial. Who knows? Antonio Gibson at Dallas. Although we said 20, 12, and 11, which are pretty good numbers in his last 3 games, he is a little bit on the decline. He's gotten points less and less week. And Lachlan, you made a fantastic point before the show when we were discussing this. He's very touchdown dependent. Having touchdown in all 3 of these games, we believe, though the Dallas teams are trying to step up in the NFC East and is actually not playing bad football whatsoever. They potentially are going to stop Gibson from getting a touchdown in this one. So we like Antonio Gibson on the bench this week.
Next one, we're going another running back here, another starting running back. We're going sitting Devin Singletary against the Ravens.
Yes.
Simply because I think the plan for Buffalo this game is attack in the air, because Baltimore's run defense, they've got a good line.
Yeah.
And they've got some good linebackers as well.
You got some dogs.
I think if Buffalo tries the ground and pound game, it's not going to work out very well in their favor. But the only way I can see Singletary eclipsing that 12-point range is if he just catches like 8 check down passes.
Yeah.
Which honestly, like, isn't outside the realm of possibilities, because Josh Allen now like actually checks the ball down instead of like just taking a sack. But yeah, again, I think Devin Singletary's a sit. I think the passing game for Buffalo is going to be so vital. They're going to live and die versus with the pass this week. I think they have to going forward, basically. So yeah, Devin Singletary, I think is a sit this week.
It's fantastic points, Loch. And like you mentioned, basically when it's a pass heavy game plan, when he's not in the game plan, he does nothing. He had 8 and 4 in his first 2. Last week was his first actual start by our
and it's mostly because he caught like 9. He got targeted 11 times, and he also had a passing touchdown as well, so that was a big part of it
for sure. Going on to our next one, Javonte Williams at Las Vegas. Obviously the Denver running back. He's had 19, 9, and 9 in his last 3. And we like this one for one main reason. The fact that Las Vegas is actually one of the only 0-3 teams. Maybe the only 0-3 team in the, actually, I'm not sure. Are they the only 0-3 team? Well, they are a 0-3 team, and they're looking to get their first win. Las Vegas is actually, Loch's going to check that. Las Vegas is actually at home for this one, searching for their first win, big divisional clash. And chime in.
Yeah, Vegas is the only 0-3 team. The only other 0-0 team are the Texans, but they tied the Colts in week 1,
who just beat the Chiefs.
What a turnaround that is. But anyway.
No, but for sure. 0-3, looking for their first win. Javonte Williams, obviously a good player, but I don't know. There's just something that goes through. There's adrenaline. There's a bit added pressure for the team to get their first win. And if you take Javonte Williams out, you have a pretty good chance of beating Denver, since they have such a dormant offense that is sporadically good on and off. But really, like we said, Loch, we haven't not been impressed with let's ride.
They gotta show us something for us to start.
Yeah,
because I mean, you can only hype up a team so much, right?
Yeah, until they start, like, players aren't actually doing what they're supposed to.
Yeah, until they show you something, then you kind of gotta play it how it is, right? But anyway, next sit on the board here, we're going Dallas Goedert versus the Jags. The Jags have had 2 good weeks.
Yes.
The Jags have been scrappy on the defensive end. Like the Chargers are not a bad team by any means. And how many points did the Chargers put up last week?
10.
Yeah,
I think.
So that's a big feat from a defense like Jacksonville's. I also think the emergence of Devonta Smith last week is really going to pay dividends for Philly going forward, because obviously Hurts, we know he's proven to us that he is a talented NFL quarterback. He can do it in this league. And I think Devonta Smith's breakout game last game, I think will only continue, because I think he just needed that one performance under his belt to just keep going for the rest of the season. I think he's going to be really good the rest of the year. So I think for this week in particular, I think that the Jags can play a little bit scrappier on the defensive end again against Philly, because again, Philly's a 3-0 team. They're looking good. And Goddard also has gotten between 9 and 13 points. Like he only gets targeted about 4 to 6 times a game,
and so touchdown dependent.
Yes, and touchdown dependent as well. So if that target and reception rate goes down, then I think the points fall astronomically in our opinion. So I think he's a sit this week.
Fantastic points. Going on to our last start and sit other than the defense, Ryan Tannehill, our only quarterback on the list at Indianapolis. Haven't really talked about him much this year. We talked about him quite a bit a couple years ago, or I remember just as friends, because we talked about the problem of how he would take so many goal line touches away from Derrick Henry and do his crappy Air Jordan celebration whenever
his little finger roll,
score a touchdown. But he's had Lachlan. He's pretty consistent at getting above 2 points each week, as you so lovingly pointed out. He's had 19, 2, and 19. So not horrible numbers when he has a decent game.
Is the pattern going to continue this week? Is he going to get 2 points?
Are we expecting 2 points? Who knows? Against Indianapolis, who just beat the Chiefs, they seem to be getting their stuff together a little bit more. So for an Indianapolis team, a Tennessee team that's been struggling a little bit, we like Tannehill sat this week in Indianapolis. Not though, unless you're in like a really large man league, that anyone was going to start him anyway.
Fair enough.
Let's go to our defense.
Yeah, this week we're picking the Cowboys defense, and neither of us are like Cowboys fans per se. And when I mean per se, we're like so anti-Cowboys. It's actually kind of funny.
We look forward to the letter of the day.
I love when the Cowboys lose, and I love when they call themselves America's team too. That just gets me fired up so much. It's crazy. But anyway, enough about that. The Cowboys are playing the Commanders this week. The Commanders got plateauing a little bit.
Still, like you said, our opinion of them has progressively gotten lower each week.
Yeah, which sucks, because I do think that their offense has tons of potential. Like they have some pieces there for sure. But I don't know. I think the way that that Dallas defense last week, they did pretty well against mind you, it was the Giants. Mind you, it was prime time. But I do think that this defense is good enough to shut down the Commanders. And I think mix in maybe, an interception here and there with Wentz, a couple sacks as well with that D-line too. I think this defense is looking good. And I think they have one of the better matchups. If you're looking at DN special teams this week, I think the Cowboys definitely have one of the better matchups against the Commanders. So that's their defensive pick of the week.
Yeah, on paper, they absolutely do. Ladies and gents, we hope to have improved from our atrocious 5-10 and 0-1 for defenses last week. We hope to get better, get back on track, and that's what we're trying to do. If you heed our advice, you might win big. You definitely did if you picked any of our starts and sits for the week that we went 8-11. We're trying to get back to that. So that's been our starts and sits. We're at the end of our episode, except for our weekly fantasy question of the week. Lachlan, what do we have this week?
Yeah, our fantasy question of the week. Is it worth holding out a roster spot for a backup running back? Ty, is it worth holding a roster spot on your team for a backup running back? I know my answer.
Short answer is absolutely. Absolutely. And, sometimes it depends which one you get or what you're looking at. Like, say, if it's a Dontrell Hilliard on Tennessee or something like that. You might look at dropping him if someone like Zay Jones is available. However, for the most part, if you're really deciding and they're on kind of the same level of how many points they've gotten between a wide receiver, tight end, or running back, stick with a running back. And mainly because, Loch, you alluded to this earlier in the episode, it's such a scarce position in the world of fantasy football. Not to mention, we've seen great examples of running backs dropping down hurt, and people have to fill in. Montgomery went down. Khalil Herbert came in. Madison's coming in for an injured Dalvin Cook. Jamal Williams is coming in for an injured DeAndre Swift, so on and so forth.
Yeah, and again, not to mention too the 1A, 1B system they have in both Green Bay and Dallas.
Yes.
Two pretty good offenses, both with like two solid running backs on each team that you can count on for the most part. I mean, obviously last week's an exception with Green Bay. But for the most part, you can count on both A.J. Dillon and Tony Pollard to get in the mix, even though they have Zeke and Aaron Jones respectively ahead of them.
Yeah, no, that's a fantastic point. So it's great to have these players around depending on system and scheme. But also in case of injury, there's always an injury bug going around. As you can see, it hit the Chargers pretty hard. Hopefully not the running back position. Fingers crossed, pray to God. But someone like Nyheim Hines is always good to keep around your bench in case Jonathan Taylor goes down, because Taylor gets lots of touches, and hypothetically speaking, if you get more touches, you're more likely to get injured. Simple as that.
And again, no one likes injuries, and again, we are not here to tell you to prey on starters' injuries, because that is so far from what we want. That's so far from what football fans want in general.
Yes.
We're just saying it's a very, very smart contingency plan to draft a backup, because injuries in any sport are inevitable.
Absolutely.
Right. And you never know when it's going to hit what player on your team and how important they are. Because if it hits a wide receiver, you can deal with that via the waiver wire. But running backs, you can't necessarily fill that hole immediately via the waiver wire or even trade, depending on how much you're willing to give up for a running back.
Yep.
So it's always a good contingency, even if you use the guy maybe once in a season.
Yes.
Just that off chance that maybe a guy goes down and you can have a number one running back. I mentioned this before. I drafted Khalil Herbert just in case. And then now it's proving to be one of the better decisions I've made, other than maybe drafting Drake London. But yeah, anyway. I wholeheartedly agree with you on this one. My answer was preset coming in before I even asked you the question. I knew what my answer was. It's absolutely yes. So if you can pick up backups off the waiver wire, pick guys off, then I would say it's absolutely worth one of your spots. So that's our answer right there.
Should take priority. Absolutely. And that brings us to the end of our episode. We had a lot of fun. Lots of good conversation, actually. Some hilarious stories exchanged.
Some friendly banter.
In case anyone cares, Bengals Dolphins today, when you're seeing this, which is Thursday. Don't forget that Sunday morning banger, Vikings Saints.
Saturday night, have those lineups set, because Sunday morning's gonna come early, especially
very
for
early.
me.
Especially if you're out west. Very, very true. And then Bucks Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, Rams Niners on Monday Night Football. We hope you have a great week of fantasy football. Good luck to everybody out there. Thank you for watching episode 5 of the Fantasy Cast. And for Lachlan, I'm Ty. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.